A Democratic firm called Mothership Strategies has apparently scammed well-meaning Democratic voters out of literally hundreds of millions of dollars. And all of this is according to an expose by Stanford political scientist Adam Bonica. And so Mothership Strategies has this network of affiliated PACs. They're mostly like fronts. What they do is they send out these text messages. You've almost certainly gotten text messages like this, not necessarily from Mothership Strategies. If you've ever donated to like Pelosi or whatever, you probably got about 1,000 of these, but they're all like super emotionally charged. Like, we're close to tears if Ossoff wins Georgia, Dems flip the Senate, but no one is donating. Or they're not mad, they're just disappointed that you haven't donated. Or there's this huge match coming, you have to donate. And lots of candidates do this sort of thing. People generally hate it, and I hope that it gets phased out. But this particular firm did a whole bunch of it. And here's the issue. If you actually donate to these PACs thinking that your money is gonna go towards the candidate they're talking about, or the party, or dealing with a particular issue, not so much. Only a tiny fraction of your donation actually went to those causes or individuals. And so since 2018, the PACs that are linked to Mothership have raised more than $500 million. That's a lot of money. But of the $678 million raised, only 11 million, or about 1.6%, has gone to Democratic campaigns or committees, according to the analysis of that political scientist. And I guess nothing they did was technically illegal. It kind of feels like it. I mean, Donald Trump ended up having to do a $25 million settlement because of his frauds, and there were charity frauds and everything. This feels like fraud if less than 2% is going towards it. But a few more details. The Mothership Strategies, it was founded by alumni of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. And so you're probably wondering, if only 1.6% goes to the thing it was donated for, what does the rest go to? Well, these organizations have a lot of expenses, kind of by design. They pay consultants huge amounts of money. So the organization gets paid, their friends who are consultants get paid, and the founders get huge paychecks too. And about half of the money that does go to the PACs at all is spent on the party's official campaign committees. And we have more analysis, Cenk, but these are some pretty crazy numbers. What do you make of it?
Yeah, look, the tenor of the emails, everybody's guilty, let's be honest, okay? So I'm not as worried about that at all, right? And we all got used to it from like a decade ago when we started getting those emails of Nancy Pelosi's about to be murdered by Donald Trump unless you give $3 right now, right? And so like, okay, we got
that one kind of almost happened, Cenk, actually.
Actually, now I feel bad about it, but okay. But seriously, but 1.6% went to candidates and the rest went to you guys? Nah, guys, look, this is like when people do false accusation of racism, it's so damaging because then people don't believe it when there actually is real racism or sexism or whatever it might be, right? And so it's like crying wolf. And so many good organizations are fighting so hard on really important issues, but stuff like this burns everyone's house down because people then go like, I don't know who's real, who's fake, right? And so they stop giving entirely. So not only do they do the first crime, which is taking all hundreds of millions of dollars and keeping 98.4% of it, but then the second crime is arguably larger, moral crimes. I'm not saying that they're technically illegal, right? That's for others to sort out. But the second problem is even bigger, which is that then we need grassroots money in order to beat corporate politicians, especially when some representatives have been bold enough not to take corporate PAC money, but then people don't want to give because of scams like this. There's one group in particular here that I am livid about, but I'll get to that after John gives you the rest of the story.
Yeah, so why don't we jump into a little bit of what the political scientist who did this analysis and broke this story said about it. He says, this parasitic ecosystem could not thrive without the tacit approval of the Democratic establishment. The relationship between the Mothership Network and the official party is not adversarial, it is deeply symbiotic. The Democratic establishment itself is a client, actively hiring the firm at the heart of the vortex. And here's an example of how this actually works in practice. One of the biggest groups in the Mothership Network, End Citizens United, presents itself as an advocate for campaign finance reform. But it was launched by Mothership's founding partners, Greg Berlin, Charles Starnes, and Jake Lipset, and has paid more than $16 million to Mothership and its associated vendors, while the small amount it has actually given to politicians has gone to those who serve the interests of the mega donors and corporate lobbying groups empowered by that exact Citizens United decision. And Cenk, I have no idea why this one in particular would bother you.
Yeah. So look, I'm part of the movement to get money out of politics and have been proudly for long time. And so I formed Wolfpack back in 2011. I'm a believer in Larry Lessig's drive to get a constitutional amendment. He's a Harvard Law professor who wants to bring both sides together, right wing and left wing. We've both been saying that for 15 years now on that particular issue, because you need an amendment and you can't get an amendment without both sides agreeing. Too many blue and red states to be able to pass something that only one side wants, okay? So in the middle of that super earnest movement, there's a lot of groups, not just Wolfpack. By the way, fightcorruption.us. They're the most earnest people in the world. They're trying so hard to get money out of politics. That's a real place, fightcorruption.us. Okay, so as we're in the middle of that movement, a while back, around the 2020 election, this group, at least that was the first time I heard about it, End Citizens United pops up out of nowhere. And I'm like, I never heard of them. And I ask around, and it's not just Wolfpack. There's a lot of great, wonderful, earnest groups trying to get money out of politics, right? And I might agree or disagree with their tactics, but I love that they're trying, right? So then I asked, you guys ever heard of them? No. And then End Citizens United starts giving money to like Cory Booker and Kirsten Gillibrand and every corporate Democrat. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, those are the corporate Democrats who love money in politics. Their entire career is based on money in politics. What are these guys doing? And it turns out this is what they're doing. Oh, God. There's so many greasy scammers in Washington, D.C. Look, I don't know the details of the story well enough to tell you, the people who founded this are wrong or guilty. I don't know. But I do know 1.6% is so unjust. It's maddening. And I do know that the people that they endorsed and supported, I don't know if they gave them money or if it was just an endorsement, to be fair. But I remember being shocked that they were backing Booker and Gillibrand and almost all the corporate Democrats. I'm like, I don't understand it. That's when I started to wonder, what the hell is this thing about, right? So I'm not making any legal claims, etc. But I'm just telling you, based on the facts of this story, it's truly disgusting the way that they are taking advantage of Democratic voters. And John, one last thing about that. This is like when Steve Bannon was raising money for a fake wall. There were no liberals or progressives or left wingers given to Steve Bannon's fake wall. He was robbing his own supporters, right? And that's why his co-conspirators went to prison. Of course, he got pardoned by Trump. When Trump did a fake university, people came and thought, I'm gonna learn real estate from Donald Trump. He scammed the people who most believed in him. Also the same thing with Trump Charity, right? So the people who attack their own side and use them as their desire to do well, especially for people trying to get money out of politics. And they weaponize that good intention of those voters, weaponize it and use it against them. I don't know that there's anything worse than that.
Yeah, that's grotesque.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.